Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Now, if you've been watching my content for any length of time, you probably are aware that I absolutely love little shoebox compressors like this one here.
I just think they're neat.
And I've actually done quite a few reviews on them and even some maintenance videos where I completely take it apart and show you what makes it tick and how to do some maintenance on some of these smaller compressors. These are a great option rather than going to your scuba shop, your paintball shop, whatever, to fill your tanks. You can do it right at home, and they're very cost effective. So I have had this one for about a month, and in that time I have really put it through its paces, including I just got back from a pro tournament out in New Hampshire at the Northeast Airgun Classic, and I brought it to our lake house with all the guys, and I filled all their guns every night, multiple guns all the time, just continual filling the whole time we were there. That being said, I think I have enough use on this thing now where I can adequately review it and give you an honest opinion on it. So before I go into any more today here, I'm going to show you some footage from when I first got the compressor, basically the unboxing of it and the first time I used it. So check that out, and then we'll take a little bit of a deeper dive here. All right, this just showed up today. I have not even opened it at all, so let's see what's inside. All right. Ooh, kind of glossy in color. Nice little manual there. Always read your manuals before use, guys. Seriously. If you don't and you screw things up, you're just going to return it and you're going to up the price for everybody else, the more people that do that. Okay, good. All right, so we have our accessories here. Looks like we've got some filters for the little oil water separator there and an extra O-ring for it. Those are some O-rings for around the edge of the piston. Looks like we've got a dead end plug. Got some burst discs in there and some other additional miscellaneous O-rings. Cool. These are the 12 volt cables, so you can plug it into your vehicle. And wow, just feeling these, feel pretty high quality. Nice. All right. So we of course have our fill whip with the integrated little oil water separator there, which is what those extra little filters were for. We've got our power cable. Looks like a standard 110 volt PC style power adapter. And now for the good part. Well, that boy is pretty nice. So we've got our bleeder here. We've got our burst disc. We've got our output. And this does have the power supply internal to it. So that is pretty cool. And I just can't resist, especially since there's a plug right here. We're just going to have to take a quick look-see before I actually start running this thing. Let's just run some power. So let's see what happens if we plug this in. Very cool. We've got the digital display there. All right, so it's going to tell me my current temp, which is 26.9 C. That sounds about right. Looks like I've got a set pressure right there, 310 bar, 4,500 psi. I have a fill pressure, and then looks like it's showing me the power that's being supplied from the power supply, which is right around 13.4 volts. All right, I'm going to run this thing for the first time. You can see I've got that big oil water separator, so that's quite a bit of volume. You know, probably, I don't know, 200-300 cc's maybe more. And I've got that half-liter tank. So it will take longer to fill it up because I have that, but that protects everything from moisture. So I have zero pressure in this tank, and we're going to see how long it takes to fill. So very simple to operate. Come over here, twist the bleed screw, make sure that's tight. And then all we should need to do is set the pressure, which I have. It's a 4,500 psi or 310 bar tank. So that's set right there. And we're going to go ahead and run this baby.
A few moments later.
All right. And that was 20 minutes with the big can on there. And it looks like we're right at around 290 bar. It'll go down a little bit as it cools off. And that was its first run, and I worked it hard, man. Usually these kind of compressors do not fill that big of a tank with the big giant oil water separator in only 20 minutes. Usually you have to stop them, let them cool, and continue. So we'll let this cool for 10 minutes and I'll fill the rest of the tank up and we'll continue testing it a little further before this review is over. So this thing just did fill that tank like all the way up in 20 minutes with the big, huge oil water separator attached to it. And check this out. So it's all in metric right now, but I read in the manual, long press here. Oh, boom, PSI. How about this button? Oh, that temperature, Celsius. No, we want to see that in we've been to the moon units, aka Fahrenheit. Perfect. All right, guys, so I have my FX Panthera sitting here, and it is sitting right a little bit under 150 bar. It is a 250 bar capacity tank. For you standard people, that's about 3,600 PSI, and it is a 300 cc tank. So we are going to go ahead and run this thing again after I've used it quite a bit over the last couple of weeks, and just kind of get a gauge for how long it's going to take to fill that tank. Now, I just have the regular hose here. I do not have the little oil water separator that I usually use, and I'll leave a link for that in the comments. But we're going to see how long it takes to fill this up, and I'll let you see some close-up of it running and give you kind of a better idea of sort of what you're going to get from a close-up perspective. All right, about ready to run this thing. So just a quick overview. At the back, you see you've got your AC power down there, which is what we'll be using today. You've also got the 12-volt DC, which it does come with some cables that you can put onto your car's battery. And while that vehicle is running, you can go ahead and use the compressor, which makes it pretty awesome to be able to take it out in the field hunting and be able to refill your gun or tank with it. So we're going to simply take this plug here and plug it in. And when you plug it in, it's not really coming through because it's bright out here. There we go. So we've got the digital display, and that meter on the left is the set pressure, and the empty meter with the HL high-low on the right is going to be your actual fill pressure. Now, since this is a 250 bar tank, we're going to go ahead and we're going to set that pressure to 250. You see it just went down there, and it's going to auto stop right at that pressure, which is pretty cool. So when I turn this on, I also want you to note it, just listen, because it has very, very powerful fans. And that is definitely a benefit. It's way more powerful than some of the budget compressors. And I think that's going to do a good job of keeping this compressor at an adequate temperature where it doesn't overheat. Now, this one you can run for 20 minutes, and I have done that with no problem. The other thing is when you get done filling and it reaches that set point, it'll sit there and run the fans until it reaches its normal operating temperature, and then it'll just cut the fans automatically. So it's kind of a smart compressor where most of the stuff on this is automated. So let's go ahead and run it. Again, I'm at about 150 bar on the Panthera, and it'll start running, and then you'll see you'll hear the fans kick on. There it goes. Now, I just have it up on that little box because it just rained, and I don't want to put it on the ground and possibly get water or anything in it. All right, so I've got an empty chip bag here. I just want to use this just very briefly to show you how powerful the fans are on this thing. Now, of course, don't be plugging up your fan hole while it's running, but just real briefly, it's not going to hurt the compressor to show you this. But check this out. Do you hear that? That is a pretty powerful fan, and it's sucking air right in through the front, and it's blowing it out. I can feel it right back here. So if we get our chip bag again, here's where it's coming out. It blows it away pretty quick. So it is quite a bit of throughput of air coming through that thing. And it's been running for about a minute. And we can see the pressure going up, 199 bar right there, 200. So it is steadily climbing. And with a smaller tank like the one on the Panthera, this will fill very fast. And I'll give you the total time once we have a full fill. But overall, it's a pretty quiet compressor. I know it might have been a little loud when I was right up next to it. I do have a mic on with some sound canceling. Not sure how that affected it. But it is a pretty quiet compressor when running compared to some of my other ones. And it's pretty smooth too. So I am definitely liking that. Plus, like I showed you earlier, with the ability to change the display from PSI to bar and from Celsius to Fahrenheit, that's pretty cool. Now this compressor does not have any type of manual pressure gauges on it. It's all digital, which I think is pretty cool. So definitely a cool way that they thought to do this. And from what I've seen, the accuracy of that digital gauge on that thing is pretty good. So what we'll do is we'll let it stop at 250, and then we'll take a look at my tank pressure on the gun and see if it roughly matches. And in my experience, it has so far. Now the FX Panthera is an incredibly high performance and luxury gun, so it does have very high performance Wicca gauges on it. They're known to be very accurate. They use them also in medical and other applications where high accuracy is needed. So it'll be interesting to see what the compressor gauge says versus the Wicca gauge on the FX Panthera. All right, we're almost there. All right, so it was at like 248, so there it goes. Just reached 250. Let's see what the gauge says. Perfect 250. So we definitely have accuracy from the onboard digital gauge to the very high performance Wicca gauges on that FX Airguns Panthera. So what the compressor will do now is it's basically autonomous. So it's going to sit there and run the fan until it gets down to the regular operating pressure, and it'll cut the fan by itself, which is pretty cool. So you can essentially just like leave this thing plugged in, run it, let it go to the auto stop, and then you can still just walk away and it'll basically kind of take care of itself, which that is different from any of the other compressors that I have. And this thing, it only goes for, I've seen it bouncing between like $269 and $300, and what a deal for the price. But anyway, let's see what the temperature is. All right, so about 22 or so degrees Celsius. And so we see now the set pressure and the tank pressure match because that's how we had it set. Very cool. And any second, this thing should kick the fans off once it gets down. I don't know what the actual temperature setting is where it kicks those off, but it certainly does a good job at taking care of itself, which leaves a lot less for the user to have to worry about. So I think that's pretty cool. There it goes, right there. So it kicked off the fans, and now we are ready to just go ahead. We could have done this earlier, but we'll vent it. All right. Now we should see the right gauge has gone empty. We have 0 bar fill pressure there, and we're done. So that's it. All right, guys. So I think I've given you a pretty good summary and analysis of this thing. We went through how to use it. We went through the digital display and what all the widgets mean and how to set the pressure. We went over how you can switch it from PSI to bar and from Celsius to Fahrenheit, which I think are some pretty cool features. We talked about the autonomous nature of the compressor, whereas it has an auto shut off and it'll even shut off the fans once it reaches its normal temperature, and showed you how powerful those fans were, and went ahead and filled this Panthera. And it filled that tank from 150 to 250 in about 3.5 minutes. So it's a pretty fast compressor too. I think it's a great deal, and this is going to probably be my main compressor now. I do have a few shoebox compressors, and hands down, this one is my favorite. The digital display is awesome. Everybody, all the pro shooters that I stayed with at the Northeast Airgun Classic loved it. Filled everybody's guns, like I said, so that was pretty cool. But I, as you know, refuse to monetize my channel through YouTube, and that's why you don't sit through commercials on my channel ever. Now, the only way I do make anything from YouTube is from my Amazon links. So if you like this review, if it was helpful to you, and you like this compressor, please pick it up through the link that I'll drop in the description and comments below. And even if you're shopping for other stuff and you click in through one of my links and purchase other stuff, I think I still get a small piece of that. So if you're doing that, I greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much. Hope this was helpful to you guys, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.